Man, good evening, everyone. I mean, all of y'all. I mean, everyone that's coming in. Welcome to the Denver Bronco Roundup Podcast, brought to you by Rocky Mountain Sports Network, sponsored by Morgan Trinkets. Anybody here a Cheyenne Frontier Days? We'll get to that later. I'm your host. My name is Keith Brugman, man. I appreciate every single one of you joining us this evening for the Denver Bronco Roundup Podcast, but I'm not alone. No, man, I got a couple of the best in the biz, man, tuning in from, all over the place. It doesn't matter. It's the internet. It works. Trevor Salzman, the Rocket Man. How you doing, sir?
Doing well, Keith. Excited to be here, and can't wait to get a great Friday show going that we had planned. And in this show, I think you'll notice, and everybody else will notice, we're kind of turning the page on the offseason a little bit with some of these some of our rankings, our final rankings of the kind of moves the Broncos have made this offseason that we liked. So kind of turn the page, not completely closing the book on the offseason, but turn the page and looking forward to training camp. Great to be here with you guys, and let's have a fantastic show.
Yeah, hanging out, having a good time. Friday night, kind of that optimistic side, man. I've been pounding the table about we all need to get behind this team. I think we've been beat into submission, and we're ready to go out there and have a fantastic season and maybe be happy, but I don't know if Broncos country is ready for it. We're going to help you get ready, and heck, might as well bring the judge in. He's going to help you get ready as well, man. Laying judgment. How you doing, Jody?
Doing good. What's up, everyone? 14 days away from training camp. Football is about here. Right here, 22 days till the Hall of Fame game. It's almost here.
Almost here, man. The days keep clicking and ticking, getting closer and closer. Sometimes Jody likes to leave us. Sometimes he likes to jump back in if you're watching us live, but he's back, and we're all good, man. I got to say hello to some of the guys and gals in the posse, man. Get it all started off. Start off with Mr. Ernie May saying, "Go Broncos country only." Hello, Keith Trevor and Jody. Go Broncos country only. Man, comes in the right way, ends the right way. And Ernie May is always a fantastic supporter. Appreciate you, buddy. Always, like, I think he just waits for me to post something out there for the Rocky Mountain Sports Network or Denver Bronco Roundup, man. He's right on it, always loving and liking and sharing and subscribing. We appreciate everyone that does that. Paul's coming in over on YouTube saying, "Woohoo, Friday." It almost sounds like, Albert Mile High Dutchy. And I know you guys are all missing Dutchy. He'll be back. He'll be back soon. He's got, work venture that he's kind of out on right now, putting in that overtime at work, and unfortunately not able to put in the time here with us. But, man, he's thinking of you. I can tell you that right now. And heck, maybe we'll hear from him in the comments. We are hearing. We see Mr. Kenny Kirkpatrick over there on Facebook. He's saying the best way to start the weekend is right here on the DVR. Evening, fellas. Evening, Kenny, man. I don't know if StreamYard's having some issues, but I've had some camera issues when I first jumped in here. Now I saw Jody, and I even saw Trevor. But, man, I'll tell you what, when the stepfather makes it on here, and it seems like he's flawless all the time. Even his camera issues never happen. Man, I appreciate you jumping in here. If you guys aren't checking out the K&K Sports Show, you're missing out. Kenny's a big part of that, obviously, across multiple shows, and they do have multiple shows. Check out K&K Sports Show. Roy Osborne said, "Hey there, Keith, Trevor, Jody, and the posse." And that's right. If you didn't know already, the posse is the chat, the live chat. All you guys coming in with the comments and question all you gals that are coming in here supporting with all of your thoughts and ideas as well. We appreciate you guys so very much, just like we appreciate Osborne Pearl Heater. Say, hi, all, I'm running late. Well, are you running late to the Cheyenne Frontier Days? Maybe, Pearl. I imagine you are, but hey, we appreciate you jumping in here and saying hello. And of course, Mr. Phil McLaughlin coming in here and saying, good evening, Keith, Rocket Man, and the judge. Looking forward to camp and then on to the season. Absolutely, Phil. Phil's a fantastic supporter. Appreciate you, Phil, jumping in here. Always being, man, it seems like you've been in here as well. Just pounding the table, supporting TBR. We appreciate you so dang much, Phil. Phil is awesome, man. Phil McLaughlin, thank you very much. I'm going to jump over, and we're going to get into some agenda here. I want to get into the main agenda, but let's just talk about this. Let's spend 30 seconds or less for each one of us, because there was a little get-together down in Texas. 12 players? I could bring up the list of 12 players. I might just do that as I get into this. But Jody, it was Mr. Jarrett Stidham that led a little camp down there, a little get-together, a little workout session with these players. Not Mr. Bo Nix. What were your thoughts? But Bo Nix was in attendance. So what were your thoughts as Bo Nix, Jarrett Stidham hanging out there? They had Cortland Sutton. They had a plethora of others. I'll bring out the list of names as you're talking about it here, buddy. What are your thoughts?
I think it's good for them to get together. I think Stidham, in my opinion, had Nix there because he knows that he can see what Peyton wants, who he wants to start. I think he's trying to be that good veteran leader and try to guarantee him at least a backup spot on this roster. But it's all good. If Nix struggles or gets hurt or something, it's good that Jarrett Stidham, is getting rapport with the receivers as well. So, it doesn't hurt, and and everyone came out of it injury free. So, I have nothing wrong with it. I mean, that's probably the biggest thing that I worry about this offseason, just like, with the Olympics right now. Fingers crossed Joker doesn't get hurt. Fingers crossed Murray doesn't get hurt.
I understand, man. I understand. I get it, man. The depth is a little scary. We'll get into probably that in another episode as we've been talking about starters and talking about who's going to start, but the depth might be a little scary at some positions. Going to go over to Rocket Man, give him his 30 seconds, man. What were your thoughts, man? This little get-together. Bo Nix in attendant. Jarrett Stidham, the leader. And just a little bit of murmurs of Jarrett Stidham possibly being the starter.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. I think I'm not overly confident that Jarrett Stidham's going to be the starter just because he got everybody together. I think it's the veteran move to make. And I think Bo Nix and Jarrett Stidham are closer than what people think. I think Bo Nix probably had a little bit of an inkling and probably a little bit, kind of planned it out a little bit with Jarrett Stidham on what guys are going to be there and just plan the whole thing out in general. I mean, he's a quarterback too. One guy that wasn't there is Zach Wilson. Bo Nix, I think, and Jarrett Stidham, I think it's the two of them kind of went together on the deal and got everybody together. I think it's great. I think it's shows a lot from Jarrett Stidham, show him the leadership that he should show as a veteran. So I think it's great. And, hopefully they got some good work in. And again, I agree with Jody. They weren't, no one got hurt. So everybody's healthy, came out of it healthy, and hopefully better relationships and chemistry too.
I think that's once again just a testament to what I was saying earlier about Broncos country just being beat down, man. I think we've been beat down with injuries so long now too. We're just like, oh, please, not an injury. That's all we're not looking for gains, for things to take leaps and bounds. We're just like, please don't get injured. No, I understand it. I think we're all a little tentative, man, but it's time to get excited, man. Excited like our posse. I got to get to, again, just really quick, guys. Got to get over to Big E Bronco saying, what's up, everybody? And he was right in line with your guys' thoughts. He says, I like the thought of the quarterbacks down there all working out and working together. Shows team togetherness. Well, most of the quarterbacks at least. But yeah, 12 players in all. I did have the list. Adam Troutman, little Jordan Humphrey, Mike Burton, Jarrett Stidham, Tim Patrick, Cortland Sutton, Bo Nix, Jaleel McLaughlin, Jalen Virgil, Michael Bandy, Marvin Mims Jr., and David Sills the fifth. So pretty good group of guys. Those were the confirmed 12 names. And yeah, to get those guys together, to start all working together, just to get some chemistry and to do it maybe a little bit away from the coaches, a great way to go. Paul's coming in here again saying, you guys rock Rocky Mountain style. Appreciate it. Yeah, we love it, guys. Rocky Mountain Sports Network, Rocky Mountain Sports. This is your Broncos show. We do have a Rocky show. Are looking to add that Nuggets and Avalanche show as well. So stay tuned for more of that as well. So like Ernie Mays saying, I think it's awesome. Get to one more from Big E. He says Zach Wilson, Lockwood would even be on the team, so he don't matter. It looks like he's in a practice squad or something. He's not feeling too good about Zach Wilson, I guess, is what Big E Broncos coming in here and saying. Yeah, I get it, man. There's a lot of questions on this team, man. And those questions may be answered in another episode. But what I wanted to get to was our agenda, guys, because I think we have a solid one, man. The Broncos went out there. They've hit free agency. They went through the NFL draft. They found coaches and brought them to their team. They found so many ways to upgrade, update this team. We thought, what better way than to give you our top five ways that we think the Broncos upgraded their team during this offseason. And I'd love to get the posse all involved as well. We're going to start off with number 5. And since Trevor came up with the rules, and then I feel like he also broke them, we're going to start with Trevor. So, Trevor, we're going to start with your number 5, which is really 5 and 6. But go ahead and talk about what you have in Mr. David Shaw and Cody Rager coming in at number 5 for you.
Well, Keith, I didn't break the rules because these guys are front office guys. They kind of go hand in hand. But I really like the additions of Cody Rager and David Shaw to this front office. I think it's something that just doesn't get talked about enough. These guys' track record, I just think it's very impressive what the amount of players they've been able to produce. Talk about one, David Shaw. He hired as a senior personnel executive in the Broncos front office. He developed players like Christian McCaffrey, Andrew Luck, Solomon Thomas, David DeCastro, and Andres Pete at Stanford. So I think that, again, he, from a coaching perspective and just looking, eye for talent, I think David Shaw makes a lot of sense for Denver to bring in and another set of eyes to see, what talent to bring in and what NFL talent really looks like. I think getting Shaw brings that. Cody Rager, of course, was brought in earlier this offseason for the Denver Broncos from the New Orleans Saints. He's now the vice president of personnel for the Broncos. Worked from the Saints in the Saints front office since 2015. Was originally a scout. He scouted the West region before being promoted to the assistant scouting director before leaving the Saints, coming to Denver. If we all remember, Cody Rager, he was a part of that Saints 2017 draft class, which include Marshawn Lattimore, Marcus Williams, Ryan Ramczyk, Alvin Kamara, and all of those guys. That was a heck of a draft class from the Saints and really transformed that franchise, it kind of, up until this point. So I just really like those two additions to this Broncos front office. I think those guys will bring some uniqueness to this front office and just another eye for talent. And from outside the organization, I think that's something that, we don't talk about enough. I mean, again, George Paton, Sean Payton, they make the final call, but having more guys outside the organization that have had a track record of finding NFL star caliber players, I think is huge. And I think can only add to this Broncos front office. So that's why I have those guys at 5th on my list.
Fair enough, man. I get it. I don't get why you get to make 2, but all these guys are on I got all these guys on the defense. So since we only upgrade the defense on this side, let me read off these. No, I'm just kidding. I think those guys go hand in hand, and especially because those guys were early on within that cycle as well. Oh, I'm sorry, Cody Rager was early on. David Shaw came a little bit late, but front office, additions. I think they will be very strong. I'm not going to fault you too much. I just had to give you a little bit of a bad time.
Well, and
go ahead,
by the
buddy.
way, again, just quick note: the Broncos draft class the past couple of years hasn't been very. I mean, they haven't been very successful on the hit rate on those guys. So I think this is also important to add on to that their success, what they had in the past, but also just George Payton and Sean Payton both now just haven't had very much success in their past couple of draft classes since 2021. Really, that was the last time Denver had a really solid draft class. So I think these, two additions are kind of maybe are minor right now, but could pay off in a major way down the line as far as Denver being productive once again in the draft is where they need to be.
I think it's fair, man. I think it's fair. Absolutely. I want to jump into the chat again really quick. One thing I jumped into our Facebook side. I saw that Phil did drop 100 stars as he came in. He also dropped a few more when we started talking about the Stidham led practice or led workouts down in Texas. And he says he would have liked to seen a few running backs there as well. Yeah. Didn't think about that as I necessarily ran through that list, but those guys are going to be catching balls for the Broncos as well. It would be nice to see a little bit of that. Good call out, Phil. I like that as well. I think there was one other one I want. Oh, Kenny's coming in. He says, I can't wait to hear Jody's. I'm having a hard time finding one move. Never mind 5. Well, geez, stepfather, you might be disowned here pretty soon, man. We're gonna hit Jody's next. We'll hit Jody's number 5, and Jody, we have a lot of similarities. We'll see how many of mine and yours match up. But I did remember seeing that as I was kind of loading all these in. Let's see your number 5. What do you got, buddy? Mic time, buddy.
Malcolm Roach for me. Denver was horrible in the run game or stopping the run last year. It was probably their biggest weakness on defense, and they brought in Malcolm Roach, who was ranked the number 1 run stopper in the run last year. Although he didn't get a lot of playing time, when he did, he made the most of it, and I think this is a huge addition to this D-line. And this is the biggest upgrade for this team, in my opinion, is the D-line as a whole. So Malcolm Roach is my 5.
You're not going to pick up every guy that we picked on the D-line? I'm just kidding. No, I think
jokes.
Okay, I'll let it rest after that. I promise. But Malcolm Roach, I'm right on board with you, Jody. This was a guy. I'll be honest. It's tough coming up with 5 when you come across all this. I don't know why Kenny's having such a hard time coming up with 1, because I had a hard time cutting this down to 5. And Malcolm Roach is one of those guys that I would love to have seen on my top 5, but just missed. I think Malcolm Roach is going to be a huge, huge piece moving forward for this Denver Broncos defense, man. I think it's a huge call out what you have there for him, especially like you said, when you talk about run stopper, being the number 1 run stopper, number 1 rated run stopper. I don't care if you're saying, well, he had limited snaps, X, Y, Z. We didn't have anybody else like that on our roster last year. I don't care if he had limited snaps. We didn't have a guy that ate up running backs on our roster. Simple as that, man. Good call out. I like your number 5, buddy. Hopefully you guys will like my number 5 as well. I'm gonna hit my number 5. For me, I'm gonna hit that coaching staff, because for me it was Jim Leonhard. There's been plenty of question, and if Pearl's still out there, feel free to chime in about Vance Joseph, VJ. In 5 seasons away from the Denver Broncos, he's never had a top 10 defense or a top 10 scoring defense. In 2017, it was Joe Woods that was calling the defensive calls when we were a top 3. This is a guy that, now comes in. I know that he's not necessarily taking that role to begin with, but he's also filling a huge role that I think was one of our best coaches on this team. And it kind of showed as he was carried over by coaching staff, and that's Christian Parker. Christian Parker is now off with Philadelphia. And that being said, Jim Leonhard is the defensive back coach. He's the passing game coordinator. And we all saw, well, kind of what happened in Miami last year with the passing game against the Denver Broncos defense. I think that Jim Leonhard is going to be a huge upgrade as a coach this year, and look out for what he could possibly be in the future, especially if we decide to move on from Vance Joseph. And like I said, I think a few people might be okay with Vance Joseph moving on. I'm not necessarily condoning that move, but I'm not going to say that that's not going to happen. Trevor, Jody, your thoughts on, or I'll just go with Trevor. Trevor, what are your thoughts on Jim Leonhard being my number 5 here, buddy?
Yeah, I just left him off my list. For a number of reasons. Again, I think he needs to prove what he can do in the NFL before I'm ready to put him on one of my top 5 lists. As far as offseason moves the Broncos have made, I think there's other moves out there, in my opinion, that probably are just a little bit more proven than Jim Leonhard. I think, again, the good things in college, but first year in the NFL, he used to play. I understand that, but playing and coaching is totally different. I'm not one to push VJ out of the door just right now because, again, this defense is not exactly the most talented defense in the world. So I'm not ready to push VJ out the door quite yet. And I'm just a little skeptical of Jim Leonhard just right now. I'm not saying he couldn't do it and couldn't be great, but I need to see him develop these defensive backs first, and let's see if a couple of these guys really start outperforming before I'm ready to bump him up to possibly defensive coordinator, to where he takes over the whole entire defense.
Fair enough. Pearl says number 4, VJ goes. Jim Leonhard takes over. Laugh out loud. She definitely was listening. I want to just get this one. I'll just hit Jody with this question. Paul is coming in on YouTube and he says, "Why do you think Peyton still has a job as GM? Why does George Payton still have a job as GM, in your opinion, Jody?"
Because I think he's respected for what he's done in the past, especially in Minnesota. I don't think a lot of people hold it against him making the trade for Russell Wilson. If you look at what Russ did in Seattle, you can't say that was what Russ, when they brought Russ in, he was much better than anything Denver had since Peyton Manning, and it wasn't even close. So, and
Fair.
if you were to get something of Seattle Russ here in Denver, then for a long time they said we're just a quarterback away. So, that would be the biggest thing. And I think him and Sean Payton have clicked since they've been here. I don't necessarily think it's a yes man, because Sean Payton's been getting his way since he's been here. He talked these owners into eating whatever, $85 million. That's a lot of money, and the most that any team has ever ate. And if you can talk owners into that, you easily can say, I don't want George Payton here if you don't like him. So I think they've worked well together. And he has made some bad picks, but he's made some good picks as well. So I think that's the main reason he's respected for what he had done in the past in Minnesota.
Yeah, I agree. Not only respected maybe about what he did in the past in Minnesota, but again, I think he's done a fair job. And you start looking around and say, we're replacing him for what's your next option? He was a highly touted GM across the league, and I think if we let him go, he'd be snatched up in some capacity quite quickly by another organization. I don't think he'd be sitting on the sidelines too long.
And besides Hackett, he's made moves that have not panned out yet, but besides Hackett, what is just a straight horrible move? I can't even say Russ is a horrible move, because he paired him with Hackett, and that, I don't know what quarterback is going to work with Hackett. And last year, I don't think Russ, if it were me, I would have brought him back for another year.
We know
but
that.
From Peyton didn't want him from day one. And I don't know that there was anything Russ could have done other than, win the Super Bowl or get to a Super Bowl for him to stay here. So.
Fair enough. I don't give criticism to Peyton necessarily on that move, especially, and coaches and quarterbacks and stuff like that don't match up. It's going to cause a mess. And you can't blame it on that particular GM when things are coming down the line like that. I want to get to the rest of them, guys, because we got a lot to get to, man. We're almost halfway through the show, so we'll have to start going a little bit quicker as we get through this. So, Jody, back to you. I'm going to go ahead and hit your number 4. Number 4, well, you have Jim Leonard, man, and I spelled it wrong on your slide. I apologize, but go ahead and talk about the reason you have Jim Leonard on your list at number 4.
I have Leonard number 4. What he did at Wisconsin, I thought was pretty good up there. And then this, we have a lot of questions in this defensive back room. Second corner, fourth corner, who's going to play safety. And Jim Leonard is a proven cornerback in this league. He knows what it takes. He played here. And I think he can get the right guys out on the field and get the most out of them. So I like the pickup. Losing Christian Parker was a big loss, but I think this eases the pain of that. So, yeah, what he brings, not only from playing experience and what he did at Wisconsin, I think is going to be valuable here.
All right, man. I already talked about my reasons. I know, Trevor, you already talked about the reasons maybe you didn't. Any other thoughts on it, though, Trevor, before we move on to maybe your 4th?
No, I just think that he needs to prove. I mean, somebody in the secondary needs to really stand out. I think then we can start talking about Jim Leonard being a defensive coordinator, but I think he needs a year, maybe a little bit more under his belt before we start talking about that. Again, he's going to his first season being in the NFL, having an NFL coaching job. So I'm not saying he couldn't do it, but I just a little bit more skeptical, I guess, jumping from the college level to the pro level, and we just haven't seen him develop anybody besides. I mean, again, he don't have to develop Surtain, but guys like Riley Moss and Caden Stearns and PJ Locke, a lot of those guys really need to stand out, I think, this year before I think he gets his praises as far as being a defensive coordinator, because that's an even bigger role going forward. So,
yeah, I think the one thing that might be, as you kind of talked there, the one thing that might be a big advantage is a lot of our players are quite young. We went young when it comes to that side of the ball, and so there's not that big transition of telling a 38-year-old safety what he needs to do. You know what I mean? He has a younger group of cornerbacks, especially to maybe work with. But let's get to yours, Trevor, man. We can keep moving right along, man. And I'm excited to talk about yours as well. So Trevor's number 4, Malcolm Roach. How about that, buddy?
Yeah, I mean, Malcolm Roach, again, I think that for everything that Jody mentioned earlier when he had Roach on his list, I have him a little higher. I think he helps this defensive line in many ways, stopping the run. I think he takes pressure off Zach Allen, which Zach Allen a couple times last year had to play nose tackle, which is not something he just does well at. He's better as a defensive end. So I think just really helps him take pressure off. I think not just him, but DJ Jones as well. I think, Denver at times could possibly run a 4-3 system as well with Roach and DJ Jones and Zach Allen, of course, and Franklin Myers on the other side as a defensive end. So I think Roach, I think he's going to be an upgrade. I think, it'd be interesting to see in a bigger role, just how big of a role he has in this Broncos team. But if being in a bigger role, will that make him even better? Because he had a small role when he was with the Saints in New Orleans. So he performed well, stopping the run, like Jody said. Will that transition over here to Denver, being a new system, and can he do that, being relied upon a little bit more, being here in Denver on that defensive line? So it'll be interesting. I think it's a solid addition for this defensive line, and this is one of 2 guys I have on my list on the defensive line. But I like this move from Denver's standpoint. Didn't cost a ton of money, big body. And I think we'll stop the run very well, and it will help, I think, ease the pressure off of some of these linebackers as well.
Very good, man. I like I said, this is a guy that I loved. I wish I would have had him on my list so I could talk about him like you guys are talking about him. But I think it's going to be a big, huge key piece for this Denver Broncos defense. You guys talked about enough. He's going to be that anchor in the middle. It's going to be, whether it be doesn't matter, pushing that pocket or stopping that run. I think he's going to be a big key piece up front. Hopefully he's up for the task, like you said, being a not just a small rotational guy, but actually getting some big time snaps out there. Kenny, I like this. Hard Knocks Broncos offseason would have been fire. I'm telling you, man. I've been kind of hoping in the background for for Denver Broncos Hard Knocks, because I think it would be absolutely fire, man. I love that, Kenny. Maybe someday, maybe next
I
year.
don't think
I don't
Peyton
know.
will. I don't think
Yeah.
Sean Payton will allow that.
Yeah, no, not a chance. Not a
There
chance.
is a time where you cannot say no. And the Broncos were on that list of teams who could not say no this year. They didn't pick the Broncos. They end up picking the Giants, and the Giants have been a little bit tasty. A little.
I think the Giants has been pretty fire, especially the
Yeah.
Saquon behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah,
absolutely, absolutely.
That's that's some stuff. When I watched that episode, I didn't think that they would let get out, and that's edited
Right.
version. So
yeah.
I mean,
Who
that there
knows?
was a lot more. So
Yeah, exactly. Kenny's going to come in with his a top three. We won't. I'll just show appreciation for all three of them. Quite honestly, Kenny, we'll get back onto our list, but I think they all have their place. Audrey Estime, I think, has its place, and I think he might come up in this conversation before we get out of here tonight. Josh Reynolds, wide receiver, Detroit, nice number 3 that can come in, and then for him, he like getting the new uniforms. I don't mind it. I like the alternative.
Make sure you get the
The
right
dark
one.
blue. Yeah. I wanted to make sure that I didn't make a mistake. This is actually I think I told you guys this is my first jersey purchase. And a lot of people are like, oh, go Elway, go Atwater. I wanted something a little bit more current, but I certainly didn't want to be picking up, the next Zach Wilson jersey or something and be hoping, right? I wanted something a little bit more solid than that. So PS2 for me is the way I went. And yeah, I think it's a solid choice to go with the uniforms. Let's get back on track though, man. Well, we left off with where were we at? Jody's number 4. We're on to Trevor's number 4. All right, man. I just want to make sure I was calling it out right. So,
No, we're on number. I did my number 4. I think we're on yours, Keith.
on your number 4,
wow, look at that, man. We're just flying through. All right. So for me, Mr. Troy Franklin is the reason, my number 4 on this list, and the reasons, I should say. I wrote down just names: Cortland Sutton, Tim Patrick, Lil Jordan Humphrey, Brandon Johnson, Philip Dorsett, Jalen Virgil. How many of those guys do you have question marks around right now? Question marks of whether they'll be on this roster, whether they'll be healthy, whether they'll truly step up and be able to be an NFL wide receiver that's a day in, day out, 17-game guy. All these names have question marks around them. The Broncos went out and even though they went out and got Marvin Mims last year, they doubled down and they had a high grade on Troy Franklin. They traded up, and I think they're securing their future in a place where there's a lot of question marks. And there's a guy that's constantly gotten better. You went from 209 yards and an 11.6 yard average his freshman year to 891 and a 14.6 yard average, also going from 2 touchdowns to 9 touchdowns from freshman to sophomore year, and then capping it off with his junior year. 1,383 yards, 17.1 yard average, 14 TDs. If this guy is just starting his incline right now, I like where he's going. Pair that up with the fact that he's pairing up with Bo Nix right out the gate, and there's a pairing that those guys will have a chemistry with, a camaraderie with, a feeling of, I'm not alone here on this team. I think it just could do wonders for both of these guys. I like Troy Franklin, and that's why I have him at number 4. Trevor, I'll go to you. I know I won't let all the cats out of the bag, but I don't think you have Troy Franklin on your list, so I'll go to you first. What are your thoughts, man?
No, I didn't have him on my list, but I think I was definitely considering him. I just don't think he's going to get a ton of playing time this year. That's the thing with him. I think that you have a lot of veteran wide receivers on this roster that are going to probably play ahead of him. If Marvin Mims don't work out in the slot, keep an eye on Troy Franklin there. I think that he has the speed and the length, and he's just pretty thin. I think that he can be a slot wide receiver if Marvin Mims just doesn't pan out. Again, that's not what Denver would hope for, but I think that would that's another option. Unless injuries start coming into play, I just can't see him getting a lot of playing time. Maybe he's makes his roster also as a special teamer for this year, and then he can develop as a wide receiver. That's totally possible as well. But as far as on the offense side of the ball, unless he just really stands out in training camp in the preseason, I don't think he's going to get a ton of playing time this year. The drops are concerned with me with Troy Franklin, and yards after the catch, he's not big on that. I think he needs to get some more built into his frame a little bit more. He's tall, lengthy, but he's just really skinny, really small. I like the talent. I think I like the upside eventually, but maybe a little bit more of a redshirt year for Troy Franklin this year with all the veterans in front of him. So I can totally see the upside pick here, and I'd like the pick when it happened. I think they got good value there in the 4th round. This is a guy that could have been easily went in the 2nd round. So and then again with the connection with Bo Nix. So I definitely understand the pick here. Just I need to see more out of him, and I think needs to be some growth there before I think he's there as a number 1, number 2 possible wide receiver on this team.
All right, man. Well, geez, making me double think away everything I just put into my number 4 pick. Jody, do you have any quick thoughts on Troy Franklin at number 4 before we move on to our number 3 and then get to a break?
2 things for me. One, Trevor brought it up, the drops. I mean, he had a decent amount last year. If he can improve on that, and 2, how he does with physical cornerbacks. He got a lot of free releases at Oregon, and with him being a smaller guy, what does he do with a big cornerback that's aggressive with him at the line of scrimmage? How does he handle that?
Okay, fair enough, man. The one thing I like is just the bet on the future, and I wasn't necessarily looking at this year, but boy, a lot of question marks on this wide receiver. Like I said, we had a little off topic, or a little side chat as we got off, I think, a last episode. The one thing that I'm really concerned about is Courtland Sutton does come back. He comes back on the contract that he has, but Courtland Sutton's playing at 90%, 85%, because he doesn't want to get hurt. He's not guaranteed anything. He's not giving it his all. He's not with the quarterback that he would have liked to have most played with this year. A lot of different reasons. He's just not giving 100% out there. And at that point, okay, now who's your number 1? You know what I mean? And how many better options do you have down this list? At some point you need to invest in your future. I'm glad that they did it with Troy Franklin. So got to give it up to Ernie Mays coming in here with a lot of love. He says, "This is awesome. Broncos only talk. You guys are the greatest podcasters only." This includes, some of the, Mile High Dutchy, go Broncos only. Oh, go Broncos colors. Okay. Love it, man. Got to get through this list though, man. We got my number 4. We're gonna wrap around. We'll get to our 3s, and then we'll take our break, guys. Well, little sponsorship break, I should say. Not like we're going anywhere, guys. Don't worry. Jody's coming in though with his number 3. Jody, for number 3, I know this is a name that you've talked about quite a bit, Mr. Audric Estime. Talk about Mr. Audric Estime making number 3 on your list.
Oh, I think this was a steal getting him in the 5th round. He can do everything. I'm a huge Notre Dame fan, so I'm a little biased, but he can do everything. He can power run. He can run for speed. He can pass block. He can catch out of the backfield. If he comes back 100% off of this injury, I think it's not but when does he start? Because Denver had a lot of needs, and they drafted a running back when they had massive needs at middle linebacker and some other positions. And I think with a rookie quarterback, they're going to lean on the run. And you need somebody that can pass protect. And he came from a pro-style offense, someone that can pass protect your quarterback, and run. I think why they didn't do it last year is beyond me, but I think this year they're going to lean on the run more with a rookie quarterback, and I think he's very important to this offense this year.
My 2 cents, I couldn't agree more. I'm going to leave it just as that. I'm going to leave the rest over to Trevor as we try to catch up on a little bit of time. What are your thoughts at Audric Estime on Jody's number 3 list, buddy?
Yeah, I like the upside in him. I think that if he does play this year, he'll be using more short yardage plays. I think, again, maybe goal line. I think that's something that they could definitely use him on. They don't really have a running back like that. They can use in goal line Javante, but SMA is bigger, and I think he's just built for that. Kind of like a running back, fullback kind of slash, kind of player. I don't think he has a ton of speed. I think that he's fast enough, but what's really going to, I think, help with the SMA is just his bull rush. He's just so big and bulk that he can get through the line. It's going to be very hard to bring him down. But I certainly a guy that hopefully will make some contributions for Denver this year. I'm not sure about that injury, of course. That's something I'm worried about a little bit with him. But I think if he does play this year, I think it'll be certain plays, and I think it'll be a lot of short yardage, plays like 3rd and 1. You need a first down. And, you get it with him and you just hand the ball off to him and see what he can do. And goal line situations, you can use him in. So unique player, can use him in a lot of different situations. And, definitely looking forward to see him play this year if he does indeed play. Like the pick, though, here with SMA. He's got a lot of upside, I think, going forward.
Yeah. The only other thing I would say, I'm more in agreement with Jody. I think this guy sees the field sooner than later. I think that he has probably a bigger influence than maybe you're talking about, and maybe Broncos country might realize. But that's just my prediction at this point. We still got a whole training camp in front of us. So I like the pick of Audric Estime there at number 3. I'll get over to Trevor's number 3. Trevor, you ready, sir?
Yep.
All right, man. For Trevor at number 3, the man of the hour, Mr. number 12 overall, Bo Nix, man. Talk about Bo Nix being number 3 on your list, sir.
Yeah, I know. Again, some people say, well, maybe you don't have Bo Nix high enough. Well, I think Denver, again, Bo Nix, as reported, was Sean Payton, George Payton's, 3rd on their list as far as what quarterbacks they wanted. They had Caleb Williams and Jane Daniels ahead of him. So that's why I put Bo Nix at 3, and I would think we still need to see something with him. I'm not ready to put him atop my list and say, oh, yeah, he's the best acquisition that they've gotten, because we haven't seen him play a snap in the NFL yet. I'm very skeptical on that right now. I do think he fits Sean Payton's offense, and I had him mocked to the Broncos for, honestly, the beginning of the draft process. Not trying to sit here and brag, but if you go watch some of the mock drafts, I had Denver not taking him at 12, but I had them taking him in the first round. I thought he fit Sean Payton's offense perfectly. And I think with Bo Nix, what I liked also what Denver did is Sean Payton and George Payton were able to find a happy medium between the two, right? They didn't have to go trade 3 first-round draft picks to go up and get their guy. They didn't have to overpay for a quarterback, and then you are left now with limited assets going forward, not being able to build around your quarterback. So they end up getting their guy that they can build around this team around and still keep your assets. So I like this Bo Nix pick at 12. I think he would have been off the board if they did not take him at 12 and then possibly risk losing him, moving back. Sean Payton believes in him. Denver's gets a chance to get behind a rookie quarterback that they can believe in, and they've taken in the first round since Paxton Lynch, and we all know how that went. So I think with Bo Nix going forward, going to be key. I think he's got a high floor. I don't think he'll be Patrick Mahomes caliber quarterback. I don't think he's going to be top 3 quarterback in the NFL, but I think that why can't he be a Jared Goff caliber quarterback? And Denver's, I think a big part of Bo Nix's future is going to be how does Denver build around him and put the assets around him and the playmakers around him that's going to need it. Because, again, guy that gets the ball quickly into his playmakers' hands, Denver's going to need to do that and pick up more playmakers as the seasons go on. So I like Bo Nix here at pick 3. Need to see what he does this season. And I think they got good value here with him at pick 12 this year.
I agree, man. I agree. Bo Nix, I think, is going to be on every single one of our guys' list. So not to give away any spoilers, but I think they'll be talking about him at least quickly coming up as we're trying to catch up on a little bit of time. But I got to talk about a playmaker right here, and that's Mr. Michael Ronquillo coming in with his Bo Nix jersey as his icon, as his emoji, whatever you want to call it back there, saying, "Good evening, Keith, Trevor, and Jody. Go Broncos." Big orange and blue hearts, big clapping it up, and big 100 stars, man. So thank you very much, Michael. Appreciate all the love and all the support, man. He's on that. He's part of that Roundup royalty, man. He is part of that Roundup royalty, man. Been there from the get, and a huge supporter. Other than that, got a lot of people saying a lot of lovely things back and forth to each other. Hi, Michael. Hi, Kenny. Hi, or Pearl. Love it, guys. Love that you guys are are so lovely to each other. Ernie May says Bo Nix #1 only. I like that, but Ernie Mays is on boards. I'm going to get to Michael's here in just a second, but I'm going to get to my own number 3, guys. So my number 3, surprised it hasn't been talked about. It's Mr. Pete Carmichael. Pete Carmichael is, in my opinion, a huge addition to this Denver Broncos coaching staff. Jody, I know, is a huge Joe Lombardi fan. I'm just joking. He's not a huge Joe Lombardi fan. And I think a lot of people were more than disappointed in maybe that hiring. Certainly didn't seem like he brought anything to the table as Sean Payton really ran the show. It seemed like, honestly, Joe Lombardi was, if there was going to be a yes man in the situation of the coaching, maybe it was Joe Lombardi. And I think Pete Carmichael is just the opposite. Here's a guy that has been the offensive coordinator for the New Orleans Saints for the last 15 years. Obviously, he spent a tremendous amount of time with Sean Payton and the New Orleans Saints. And you think about everything that they were able to develop, everything they were put together. And by the way, before he was a New Orleans Saint, guess where he was at? He was hanging out with the San Diego Chargers at the time. A little guy named Drew Brees was hanging out there before he came over. So again, a guy that really probably understands quarterbacks, understands what they're able to do, and could be a great OC. And I think that's really the future for Pete Carmichael. I think it's a great pairing with Sean Payton now, and he can take his mind off of having to worry 100% about the offense, maybe be able to turn it over into some more capable hands, in his opinion, in one Pete Carmichael. So that's just me, guys. That's my thoughts. Quickly, as we catch up on time, Jody. All right, Trevor, I'll go to you first on Pete Carmichael.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is a big addition. I think for the Broncos on the offense side of the ball. I think Lombardi. I think is on the hot seat a little bit. We kind of talked about it last episode, one of the episodes here lately. We talked about Lombardi being on the hot seat. I think Carmichael is one of those guys that could step in and be the OC if he needs to be. But I think that this is a solid addition for Sean Payton. I mean, I considered him to be on my list possibly as well. I just didn't think it was too big of an addition, just because Sean Payton still is going to oversee the offense side of the ball. He's still going to be the one making that final decision. The New Orleans offense over the last couple of years hasn't been up to par, in my opinion. So it's just some still being a little skeptical of Carmichael, but I do think that there is upside with Carmichael. Again, got to keep in mind, they had Drew Brees for how many years? So, without a Hall, let's see what they can do without a Hall of Fame quarterback. If we want to judge Sean Payton on that, I think it's fair to judge Pete Carmichael on that as well.
Sure. Fair enough, man. Jeez, it feels like every time I turn around, man, I just get put in my place, man. My list is just falling apart. Hopefully it gets better as it goes along. No, Trevor, I appreciate the thought process. Jody as well, man. Kind of that pushback, it's like if we're all just sitting on here agreeing with each other, man, this will be a really boring show. And Pete Carmichael did have it easy with Drew Brees. We'll see what this kind of looks like, maybe with a new change of scenery, but I kind of like the upgrade of what we got. And I'm excited to see maybe what this ends up looking like as this all comes together for Sean Payton. Patrick Wiltsey comes in here. Nothing on the screen, guys. That's because he just came in here and he dropped some stars. He later jumps in and says, sorry for the lateness. Aloha, boys. Well, aloha to you. I appreciate you coming in here, supporting the show, man. You support the show in so many ways, man. I'm telling you what, guys, gals, everyone out there, if you're big coffee fans, man, you got to head on over to Lion Coffee. That's lioncoffee.com. I'm telling you, it's the best. I drink too much caffeine. If I went to my doctor and was honest with him, he'd be like, so that being said, I know what good coffee tastes like, and Lion Coffee is the only thing I drink. So lioncoffee.com, check them out, and don't be apologetic, Patrick. We appreciate you just being here, man. Man, it's about time for that sponsorship break. Trevor, you think you got this for me, man?
Yep, I got it. Let me tell you guys about our amazing sponsor, Morgan Trinkets. With over 33 years experience, they are your headquarters for Southwest Pottery and jewelry, as well as estate gold and wholesale prices. Started in 1990, once a nationwide company. Now they do shows exclusively in northern Colorado and southern Wyoming. All their gold is real gold, 10, 14, or 18 karat gold. All of their silver is sterling silver. How do you find Morgan Trinkets? On Facebook by searching Morgan Trinkets today. If you can catch Morgan Trinkets at one of their shows, they take all major credit cards. On Facebook, they take PayPal, and all orders are shipped free over $50. Check out Morgan Trinkets. That's Morgan Trinkets on Facebook today. Once again, Pearl, thank you for sponsoring the show, and thank you everybody who has set stars and just for showing up. We really do appreciate you all, and just want to thank you guys again, and thank you, Morgan Trinkets, once again.
Yeah, absolutely. Morgan Trinkets, man. I tell you what, man, that page is growing. Their followers are just stacking up, man. You know why? They got great stuff. They have great customer service. They have great products, beautiful products. Everyone's happy with them. You know, you get that free shipping over $50 on Facebook. If you're heading out to Cheyenne Frontier Days, because like quite a few people head out to Cheyenne Frontier Days, guess what? Morgan Trinkets are hanging out there. You can see everything they have to offer. Sure, they'll have beautiful pieces and fantastic deals. So, man, and by the way, you can use all major credit cards once you hit them up out their shows like Cheyenne Frontier Days, man. So check out Morgan Trinkets. We appreciate everyone supporting the Morgan Trinkets. Pearl, she's loving it. You guys are awesome. Appreciate y'all. Let's get to our final two guys. Jody, we're gonna keep everything rolling the same direction, man. We'll start off with you. Your number two, John Franklin Myers. Talk about the acquisition, sir.
Oh, I think this was a huge upgrade, a steal for us, giving up a 7th-round pick. Basically got him for nothing. You weren't going to get this type of player with your 7th-round pick. He improves his D-line immensely. Like I've said, that's the most improved, unit as a whole on this team, in my opinion. Brings leadership, good at the run, also can pass rush. Not really any bad things I can say about this acquisition. It was for what we gave up for him. It's a steal in my opinion.
I like it, man. I'm not going to comment a whole lot on it. I'm going to let Trevor take a little bit on this one because I'll be talking a little bit about him and John Franklin Myers on my list as well. Trevor, what are your thoughts on Franklin Myers?
I think this is 1v1. No, not giving you spoilers. That might be the same one. So I'll just be kind of short on this one. But again, I think with Franklin Myers, I think out of all the additions this year, he's one of my favorites. I think if not my favorite of all the whole offseason. I just think that he's. Yeah, I see. I'm second on my list, and I think Keith, you might as well. But again, I just think that what he brings, I think, from a pressure standpoint and running and stopping the run, I think is huge. Jonathan Harris and Mike Purcell were not very good last year for Denver. They each had 1 sack. Well, Harris had 1 sack, Purcell had 0. And then 0 quarterback hurries. Pressure. John Franklin Myers last year had 27 pressures, 33 combined tackles, 14 quarterback hurries, and 55% of his snaps. And he had 627 snaps. He is an upgrade over anything I think Harris, Purcell, and Henningsen did last year for Denver. I just think that they really did a great job. Upgrade the defensive line. I think you're going to see that across the board. I think from DJ Jones to Zach Allen, I think just really helps. I think this team and stopping the run, but also getting after the quarterbacks. I think you're going to see a couple of these edge rushers possibly have a good chance of having a breakout season. One of them at least. With this addition of John Franklin Myers, he's just a beast. I think just what you got for him, and then him taking a little bit of a discount to come here as far as on his contract. I think he's huge for Denver. One of my favorite additions the Broncos made this offseason, Mr. John Franklin Myers.
Yeah, I'm glad you pointed that out. Sometimes I get caught up in comments and slides and everything else, and you're absolutely right. John Franklin Myers across the board, number 2 for all 3 of us, and that allows me, because I said this earlier, I wanted to get to Michael Ronquillo's comment. Michael Ronquillo is keeping us up to date with his list. So his number 5 was Michael Roach, his number 4 was Bo Nix. His number 3 was John Franklin Myers. So now we're kind of up to track with John Franklin Myers. That's why I didn't want to let that cat out of the bag. Thanks for hanging with me, Michael. I appreciate that. And then he came back in, and his number 2 is Mr. Audric Estime. Even higher on Audric Estime than Jody. who's a Notre Dame guy. So Michael Ronquillo, strong list that he's put together as well. Man, I tell you what, that John Franklin Myers all being number 2 really caught us up on some time, guys. I thought we were going to be sitting there. I will say this, John Franklin Myers, just a couple of things. One, the compensation, guys. The compensation has got to be talked about. 2026 6th-round draft pick. Now, at the time, he came in scheduled to make $29 million over two years. But no. He comes in, reworks the deal for the Denver Broncos. He's making $15 million over 2 years, basically cuts his contract in half. $10 million guaranteed, basically a 2-year, $5 million per year contract guaranteed. And for the production that we saw out of him, 2020 to 2023, 17 and a half sacks, 125 tackles, and he wasn't a key guy on that defense. He was a rotational guy. I can't wait to see what he brings to the Denver Bronco defense this year, man. Absolutely. I think it's a great pick at number 2. But let's get to our number 1s, guys. Let's get to our number 1s. Jody, I'm going to allow you to keep going. Go number 1, man. We'll talk about it, man. Number 12, Bo Nix. Number 12 in the draft. Number 10, Bo Nix.
I have Bo Nix number 1, and I start this off with he was not my number 1 quarterback. But I put Bo Nix number 1 because this is Sean Payton's guy, and if Sean Payton didn't want to go the rookie route, there were veterans out there. He could have made a trade. We could have done whatever to get a quarterback, and he didn't go that route. He stuck with Bo Nix. It sounded like they put a lot of time and work in on Bo Nix behind the scenes, and this is the guy he wanted. Any quarterback that we would have taken would have been my number 1 because we just ate $85 million on Russell Wilson, and Stidham was, in my opinion, not good last year, not at all. And we needed a fresh slate, and you win with quarterback in this league. So, and we have the best quarterback in the division, or best quarterback in the NFL in this division. So if you plan on competing, you better have something comparable, or you're not going to. And we're going to find out, was it Sean Payton or was it Drew Brees? Because he's got a rookie quarterback now that he can mold. If it was Sean Payton, he should turn him into Drew Brees 2.0, because like Trevor said, everything that everyone said, he fits this offense to a T, does everything that Payton wants. So that's the key to this team. If you don't have a quarterback, you're not going anywhere. So that's why I feel it's the most important.
All right. I'm going to go over to Trevor, man, and talk about number 1 to number 3. You had him at number 3 on your list. Jody has him at number 1. What is your thought process behind that, and any particular criticism as far as Bo Nix being the number 1 on his list?
I don't believe Bo Nix was the number 1 guy. They're going to try to sell that to the media. Oh yeah, we got our guy. Well, I just don't think that was your number 1 guy, because I think Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels and Benjamin Albright actually came out with that list. And if you want to believe that or not, I guess anybody can, or you don't have to. But I do think that Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams had more upside than Bo Nix. I think Bo Nix has upside to a degree. I just don't know where that's at. I don't think it's on the same boat as a Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels. So for me, I think that if you believe that that tweet from Benjamin Albright, Bo Nix was the number 3 quarterback on their list, and I could see that. I could see that, and I think anybody, being realistic, even though if you lead off Bo Nix, that doesn't mean that they're any less on Bo Nix. It just means the upside on Williams and Daniels is more, and they still love Bo Nix. There's a chance they loved all 3 of those guys, but they just couldn't move up realistically in the draft to get Jaden Daniels or Caleb Williams. So the best bet was to just wait and let Bo Nix drop to you. You didn't have to give up any future first-round picks to get him, and now you have a chance, even better chance, to build around him and help him grow and go forward. So I just think that wasn't their number 1 guy, just in general. But that doesn't mean that they didn't love Bo Nix, and that doesn't mean Bo Nix can't still be very successful quarterback here in the NFL for the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, I'm going to kick you off the screen now. I'm just kidding. I'm just joking. I'm just joking. No, I appreciate it, man. We do have to have some measured, some tentative optimism heading into this, right? Yeah, I guess is where you're heading. It's like, maybe it wasn't their top pick. If it was a top pick, would you have taken Bo Nix number 1 overall if you're sitting in that boat? Okay, fair enough. I get that, man. It probably wasn't. But I think realistically, knowing where they were going to be and doing their homework, I think they were really happy with what they got in Bo Nix. And I'm not going to quit pounding the table for it. Well, to the point that I'm just going to go ahead and I'm gonna leapfrog you, buddy, because that's what I have as my number 1 as well. I'll let you go last, Trevor. You got the last guy on the list. So, this is the thing, man. Since 2018, guys, Keenum, Flacco, Bridgewater, Russell Wilson, really only Drew Lock was the only guy that we put in there that was a rookie since 2018 that we've had any chance to have some hope in. And unfortunately, Drew Lock never really got that chance that everyone hoped he was going to get. It was played around with and toyed around with and never really given the full opportunity. I've been pounding the table, man. We've been beaten to submission, and I think it's about time we get excited. We went out there and we got, the guy that, let's see, all-time leader in completion percentage at Oregon, 3rd overall in completions, 3rd overall in touchdowns. And I'm talking 658 completions, 74 touchdowns, 74.9% completion percentage in his Oregon career. If it's that easy, if it's just a scheme, you should be able to stop it in some regard. And it just seems like this guy was able to continue to excel. 8,101 yards, 5th overall in Oregon history. Let's get excited about Bo Nix, because I think if we get excited, we get behind this team, we finally got a quarterback that's not, maybe Joe Flacco can do it again. Maybe Case Keenum can keep the fire burning. It's not all these hopes and wishes and of rekindle that fire, get that flame rekindled again. Even Russell Wilson, it had been a few years since he went to the Super Bowl, kind of hoping to rekindle that flame. No, we get to start the flame from smoke, and that smoke is Bo Nix. Let's start that fire. Let's get rolling. I'm excited, man. I'm excited for what we got possible, man. And you already gave your 2 cents on that. I know that we had Jody give his 2 cents on it as well.
I have one thing to add.
Yes, sir.
Maybe Caleb Williams was their number 1 pick, but that wasn't our number 1 quarterback. But he was never realistic. The Bears weren't giving that up. I mean, they just got rid of Justin Fields. They told you that they were, when they did that they were taking Williams. He was the most realistic quarterback that you had a chance at getting. I don't even think where Jalen Daniels went or May, you didn't have a chance at. So I don't think that he really wasted, maybe not wasted, but I don't think he put a lot of time into those quarterbacks because he didn't think that he had a chance at getting those quarterbacks. So he put all the work into Bo Nix and liked what he got. If he didn't like what he got out of Bo Nix, he could have traded for Dak. There were other quarterbacks out there. They would have paid more to get Sam Darnold, who they were interested in. There were other quarterbacks. So
absolutely. I think there was options, and I think you're 100% right. And it leads right into Michael Ronquillo. It says, my number 1 is no trading up in the NFL draft for a quarterback and waiting until the quarterback fell to the Broncos in the 1st round pick, number 12 in the NFL draft. Go Broncos. Kind of talking about what you're talking about right there, Jody. And Michael, if you weren't covering up Jody's face, I'd leave you up there. I apologize. I did that a couple of times too many, Jody. But that being said, I think that's 100% right. Waiting for that to happen, not doing the Sean Payton type of thing that we all kind of expected him to start coming in here and doing in Denver, which he hasn't done. And that's like trading every single pick in order to try to make everything happen today, getting Caleb Williams this year, and hoping that, everything that you've given up over the next 3 drafts is going to get you taken care of this year. Didn't happen, Michael. And that's a good call out. He said he was going to be a surprise what his number 1 pick was. And that is absolutely a surprise. And that's a fantastic call, Michael. Fantastic. And I think call.
That goes back to whoever asked about why George Payton is still here, because I think he kind of kept Sean Payton grounded into, you can't give up everything to go get one player when we have so many holes on this team. Fine, you don't need necessarily Patrick Mahomes. You can. It's been proven. Look at Brock Purdy in the Super Bowl, Jimmy Garoppolo. Some of these, you can get there with a top 10 quarterback. If you're, the debate's always been out there, Peyton or Breeze. Go prove that it was Peyton, not Breeze.
There you go, buddy. There you go. We're in overtime, and we do still have one hole missing, and that's Trevor's number one. Trevor, talk about your number one.
Yeah, so again, my number one, the thing I love the most what the Broncos did this offseason to me, and I know a lot of Bronco fans aren't maybe going to love this, but I think they committed to a rebuild. And I say that, and you can call it retool, whatever. But why I say that is look at these guys' contracts on this current roster. There's not a lot of players that they can't move off of after this year. A lot of these guys are playing for their contracts. You release Justin Simmons, you release Russell Wilson, get rid of Jerry Jeudy, you're starting quarterback, you're starting wide receiver, and you're starting safety, and you're starting inside linebacker. This team, we can, again, no one loves to hear the word rebuild. Everybody just think it's just like, oh, well, they're not going to be good. That don't mean they can't be good. I just think this team needs to take a step back to take a couple steps forward, and I think they realized that, and they did that. Also, I think that's a big reason why they didn't make trade up and be aggressive and trade all these picks away, because they realized they're probably not all. This is probably not realistically all going to be done in a year's time or 2 years' time. It's probably going to be 3 or 4 years before we can get to where we need to be. Not from 3 or 4 years now, but I'm saying the next year or two, then they can start building their team out and be realistic. Like, okay, we have a chance. They have a chance now, but let's be honest, they still need to add more talent to this roster. And a lot of the contracts they signed here in free agency, they didn't lock guys up long term. A lot of these guys are short term deals, and so I really like them committing one way or another, because during the John Elway era, it was, after Super Bowl 50, it's, we have a chance. We have one of the best defenses in the league. You get a veteran quarterback, a bridge quarterback, and then never worked out. How many years did they try to do that where you're right in the middle in the NFL? They did a lot, and I think it cost them and possibly cost them a franchise quarterback in the end. So I just like them committing one side or the other. I don't like being in the middle all the time, being the middle ground, and you don't have a direction going forward. I think they have a direction going forward, and it just really feels like that for the first time in many years, that they finally have some sort of direction, and they're all pushing towards that. So I just love that Denver did that this offseason, and they committed to it, and they're sticking to it up to this point, because they could have very easily pivoted and traded all these picks away and just went out there and signed, big free agents. Again, yeah, I know they're eating the money on Russell Wilson, but with the cap in the NFL, you can maneuver it to make big moves. They didn't want to do that right now, and want to save the flexibility going forward down the line, maybe in the next offseason or a couple off seasons, and then make their team better then, and let these young guys develop and build through the draft. So I just like their commitment to be a rebuilding caliber team. They're never going to admit that, of course, and I don't think they're going to be the worst team in the NFL. But I think some of the moves they made, there's direction with this franchise.
I'm going to give you more words than Kenny's allowing. I'll give you 5 words or less. Rapid fire question, 5 words or less. What was your favorite move this offseason, fellas?
Least
favorite move this offseason, fellas. I was like, man, I think that's the list we just went through, Kenny, but I'll give you some respect. Jody, we've been going around the horn. What's your least favorite move this offseason? 5 words or less.
To keep it 5 words or less, I'll go Justin Simmons. That's probably my least favorite move.
Justin Simmons. Trevor, least favorite move this offseason was?
Yeah, I gotta say Justin Simmons too.
Yeah, off the cuff, man. I think you're going to get a clean sweep, man. It's tough not to say Justin Simmons just off the cuff. I'm sure there's other things that we could be a little bit more disappointed in. I think it was a necessity to move on from Russell Wilson, even though that cost us an absolute ton of money.
I wanted to say Russell Wilson, but
Yep. There's a lot more story behind that, ain't there, buddy? And we're already in overtime.
I put Bo Nix number 1, or whatever quarterback we would have taken. So, and the only reason just because I needed a quarterback that meshed with Sean Payton, and that's why I don't like moving off of Russ, but I understand the move because he didn't fit one bit with what Sean Payton wanted.
Yeah.
Michael Ronquillo has a hot take. He says not letting Broncos defensive coordinator Vance Joseph go was my least favorite move of this offseason. So he's glad that we kept VJ. For Kenny says not signing or drafting a linebacker for me, fellas. Yeah, I could see that.
That's a close second for me because
yeah,
that's Denver's biggest weakness on defense, I think, is who plays next to Alex Singleton.
I'm all over Jonas Griffith. But with that, guys, gals, everyone that's been tuned into the show, man, thank you so much, man. Like I said, appreciate all the support, man. Maybe as we get out of here, I'll try to get a few more tags in there. But head on over to Rocky Mountain Sports Network, the Facebook page. We're at 950 followers. Nothing I'd love more than to get to 1,000 over there on the Rocky Mountain Sports Network Facebook page. We have 1,700 over at the over at the Denver Bronco Roundup page. So just a few of you all that love the Denver Bronco Roundup page, go like that Rocky Mountain Sports Network page. For all of you that have been coming over on YouTube, like Ernie Mays, and I know we got a couple others that were in here earlier. All of a sudden, I'm forgetting names as we go through here, but Paul was the other one that was sticking out in my head. Appreciate you coming in over on YouTube as well. Like, share, subscribe. To the star givers like Phil and Michael Ronquillo, thank you so very much. Appreciate that, especially in this off season when you guys are searching for a little bit of headlines, searching for a little bit of Broncos talk. We're searching our brains, trying to come up with great topics. We appreciate you coming in here for an overtime edition on Friday night of the Denver Bronco Roundup, a little bit over. But let's get some final thoughts from everybody on the screen. Been going around the same horn the same way. Let's start off with the judge himself, Jody Moncrief, man.
Just excited. 14 days away till training camp. Some interesting battles. Who's going to start at linebacker? Who starts at safety? Who starts at center? And is what Sean Payton's been telling us that Bo Nix is ahead of a lot of rookies and ahead of the game. Is that true or is it not? We're going to find out. And hopefully we have our quarterback for the next, 10, 12 years.
Wouldn't that be nice, man? Wouldn't that be nice? I like it, man. Trevor, thoughts as we're getting out of here, buddy?
Yeah, Keith, if you don't mind, I want to bring Kenny giving a little bit of feedback on this. That I don't know, fellas, I have to criticize you all just a tiny bit. Having multiple coaches on that list means you aren't too happy with the offseason acquisitions or transactions, and it is concerning. I mean, just quick thoughts on that, Kenny. It's just hard because, again, they didn't do a ton this offseason. And, I mean, this is a team that had to eat a ton of money with Russell Wilson. So there wasn't a lot of star moves they were able to make. So some of the moves we made, we just wanted to make sure that we liked them. There was some other moves that we just maybe didn't like as much. But some of these coaches are, I think, and front office personnel they brought in are real talent. So I think that they could help this team in the long run and helps develop these players a little bit more. It was pretty quiet offseason from the Broncos standpoint after the Russell Wilson release and just the amount of money, the lack of, so I guess that they didn't have to spend in free agency. So I just wanted to give Kenny a little bit of feedback on that. But just want to thank everybody tonight. The stars, everybody that sent stars, I really appreciate it, and just everybody showing your support for us. We love it, and hope you guys enjoyed our agenda with the list. We'll do some more in the near future. Can't wait for training camp. We're right around the corner. It's going to come in a hurry. So just can't wait for that, and just want to thank you everybody for joining in tonight. Really appreciate it. Have a great, safe weekend, and go Broncos.
Yeah, been great, man. It's been fun, man. Broncos country, you guys are strong. Like I said, I want to get us all pumped up. I want us to get it ready for the season. Like Jody said, 14 days away from training camp kicking off, man. Still working out plans, guys. Might be those later dates rather than the earlier dates. Who knows? But still trying to work out plans to get down there. Want to make it 3 years in a row. And that would be fantastic. Give you guys some feedback. Dropped a couple of things in the chat. Just an article written by, me. I think the center position is going to be a big decision that will have to be made at training camp, and kind of breaking that center position down just a little bit. Also dropped in the Facebook page for Rocky Mountain Sports Network. You can follow that link directly from the chat as well. Appreciate you all so much, man. Like I said, growing leaps and bounds. Got a great show coming in from Pearl Heater. Michael Ronquillo dropping stars, telling us how great of a show we're having as we're getting out of here tonight. Thank you so much, Michael Ronquillo. Thank you, everybody that jumped in, from Clayton to Paul to Michael to Phil. I mean, you guys are amazing supporters, amazing, just Bronco fans. And, man, can't tell you how much we appreciate and love you guys. If you ever have any ideas, any thoughts, you want to give any feedback, by all means, feel free, reach out. We're here for you, Posse. We love you so much. Again, Denver Bronco Roundup comes on every Tuesday, every Friday, 7 to 7:30, 7:35 p.m. We'll try to get you up to date as far as the ad. If you're liking and subscribing to all of our social media outlets, you'll know exactly when we should be coming on. And from that, guys, we're going to get out of here. Make sure that you're checking us out, though, every single episode. Until next time, though, make sure you keep your feet in your stirrups, guns in your holsters, Broncos in your heart. And with that, guys, gals, we're out of here. We'll see you next time. Good night.